Hey everyone, welcome to episode 59 of the Worldwide Knicks podcast. Coming at you before, hopefully, not another losing game for the Knicks. Not been a great week. Alex, Rafa, how we doing tonight?
Good, thanks, old man. Not quite on the ledge yet, but
Getting there. Yeah,
maybe by the time I wake up in the morning,
might
I
be.
might be there. So yeah,
When
yeah.
D'Angelo Russell drops 45, that's what's
Maybe
gonna happen.
just give me a call in the morning just to make sure I'm okay.
Just check in on you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Rafa was good, man.
It's everything's fine. I'm still fine. So
We're
after
good.
even with your losing
Knicks
games,
aren't
yeah, I
great,
think we're good.
but we're good, right?
you're
Me
just that you know that gif of the guy sitting in the chair and the building's burning down. You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
it's fine.
Fine.
It's
This is
fine.
fine. Yeah,
I've
that's us right
changed.
now. That's us right now.
I've
That's okay.
changed from wine to water.
Because
Let's not
hydration
make
is
it
important.
whiskey. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes.
Reverse Jesus moment
Yeah.
there.
All right. So,
Sorry.
like we've been saying, Knicks not doing great. Had a amazing double overtime win against Boston, where IQ looked like a top 15 player in the NBA, and then the losing started. Losses against Charlotte. The beam got lit up against us against Sacramento, and just the yesterday, I should say, a loss against the Clippers where Kawhi Leonard did whatever he wanted. So not great, not a great week to be a Knicks fan. You know, a lot of questions have been arising. You know, they've now lost three in a row. We're recording this before they tip off in Crypto.com Arena against the Lakers. So Alex, I guess what's been the most glaring issue in the last three games for the team?
Shooting, basically. I mean, yeah, you could put a lot of it down to fatigue and missing Brunson and things like that. But you know, some of the it's not even the missed shots. It's just it's like the chucking. You know, like was it the other night where we shooting 20 odd% and like 50 threes attempted. You know, I hate that kind of when you're watching basketball and you know and you're shooting poorly and you think the best way to just it's not as if we were like a good 3 point shooting team or a good shooting team in general, then you'd almost understand the shoot your way out the slump sort of. But you know we're not. We're one of the worst shooting teams in the league. So if we come out shooting bad, you know, maybe try something else. Do you know, like be a bit varied in the offense, but that's an age old
Hey,
complaint. So,
Alex, they've been
yeah,
rebounding well though, so
yeah.
got that
Mhm.
going. Was
It's
you
a
putting up that
lot.
many bricks?
Well,
More opportunity.
that game
So
against
There you
that
go.
game against the Kings, it was like they couldn't catch a rebound at all, and we could we couldn't shoot at all. It was just a weird
weird
kind
game.
of
Yeah.
cancelled each other out. So I think.
It was like an early 2000s playoff game. Where nobody knew how to shoot. It was great.
It's still a problem. 23 years later. And yeah, the shooting has been terrible. Absolutely awful. If we three got together, we probably could shoot a little bit better. Not much, but a little bit better.
Not seen me play, Rafa.
No, no, no. I have a podcast talking about basketball, not well. Um, but yeah, it's such a weird thing. After that game against Boston, you could feel that the Hornets game was a trap game. Like
Hmm.
they're super tired. The after a double overtime game against the Celtics where they fought hard and they overcame the Celtics in a big win. They looked absolutely tired after that game. They played 50 minutes, most of them. RQ played what 58 or whatever it was. So it's okay. Okay, the shot is short. They're not getting okay. It's the game against the Hornets. It's well, it is what it is. The streak is gotta end. But the Kings, it feels like stretches. Oh, we're playing really good. Oh my God, what is this? Oh, really good again. Oh my God, what is this? We're such a we're a streaky team in the game. Because even against the Clippers, there were stretches when we look at okay, we're getting this up again, and then shit. Defense losing, people losing everyone, not talking. It all happens. And I but it's at least we're consistent, because when we had our 8 game winning streak, we followed that with a losing streak. So at least we're consistent in that. I'm happy with
We're consistently
consistency.
streaking in one way or the other.
There you
Was
go.
it five game losing streak? Was it the last time?
Yeah, it was 5 game losing streak. I just checked. Yeah, we won 8, lost 5. So it's a +3. Everybody loves the plus minuses. So, but yeah, I mean, it's. I was talking to on Twitter. I don't know if it was DP. We were talking about how this is a perfect shitstorm for the Knicks to lose games. It's a double overtime game in Boston. Brunson goes down. West Coast trip. It's the perfect storm, the perfect ingredients to Knicks Knicks shithouse. It's happening. Players don't seem. I mean, the team was so happy playing lobs off the blackboard from quickly to Julius Randle. The game against Boston, they were hyping each other. Was so happy, and now they miss a couple of shots, and they're arguing with the referees. They're arguing with them amongst themselves for they're losing guys that they're not switching. It's the perfect storm of being tired, not because of nine-man rotation, not because of overplayed minutes. I mean, it happens when you play a double overtime. You need to travel to the West Coast. I mean, they're tired, but I mean, and it's Brunson not being there. I mean, Brunson is the guy who can find his shot. And to people saying, "Oh, Brunson needs to pass the ball for the guys to make shots." This is why he doesn't pass. No one makes a fucking shot to save their lives. No one makes a shot. It's incredible. Julius, IQ, RJ, no one makes a shot from 3. Wide open. Break. Wide open. No, it doesn't go. I mean, it's incredible how poorly we've been shooting.
It's to me, guys. Obviously, the shooting's been bad. There's no I think a couple of these games are in the 20 percentile. 20% is not great. But yeah, it's Brunson, right? Like you lose your best player. Shocker, you're going to start to lose games. What happened to the Pelicans when Zion went down? They lost like 10 in a row. If you try to tell me the Cavs wouldn't lose some games if Donovan Mitchell missed a few games, it's just. Like, no shit, guys. Like, people getting all like, "Oh, this team is fraudulent." I told you, like, yeah, they lost their best player in a league that relies on your best player being good. If you lose that guy, you're probably not going to do so good, And we're going to talk about the Julius stuff later, but people taking it as an opportunity to bash IQ, bash RJ, bash Julius, bash Grimes, whoever the case may be, and be like, "Oh, I can't believe we're losing all these games. How did we lose to Charlotte?" Like you said, Ralph, it's a trap game, and how do you lose to Sacramento? Oh, I don't know. How do you lose to the number 2 seed in the West? All of a sudden, that's like bad, And
the Clippers have got the 2 superstars back.
Yeah, like Kawhi was just doing Kawhi shit, like you had mentioned in our group chat, Alex is just so effortless, just scores whenever he wants, and Paul George, no slouch, and they're a good team. They're a playoff team, and I guess that's a discouraging part. You wonder what it would have been like if Brunson was there, because those games, not the Charlotte game, but Boston, Clippers, Kings are test games. These are games that are like you're playing against, top of the conference type teams that are going to make hopefully runs into the playoffs, and you want to see how you fare against those teams. I will say, though, to kind of wrap a positive spin about this, is they fought back every single time, and especially in the Clippers and Kings games. And you thought they were out of it, and all of a sudden, Josh Hart gets a turnover, they get an offensive rebound and get a bucket, that kind of thing. You like to see that. They could have very easily said, "Hey, this is not our night," and lost by 20 both times, but, they kept it going, and it wasn't pretty, by any stretch by any of the players. But, you're that's what happens when you're down your best player and you can't make a shot, and so to me, it's not really like I think the reaction from a lot of people is, oh my God, the team is in shambles, and I'm just like, I don't know, like they're missing shots, which, happens. Teams go through slumps and they're missing their best player. That's just the NBA. If you don't have your best player, you're not going to win games. So that's kind of my takeaway.
Just a thing. I know we still lost the games, but we were so worried about how RJ was not getting it done offensively at all. And even if in losses, even though those two losses, the game against Boston as well, not so much against the Clippers, where he and Julius just were just not getting anything going. Him being able in those three first games, Boston, Kings, what's the game I'm missing? It was Boston,
Charlotte?
Hornets, and Kings. He averages more than 25 points, so he was able to score. Okay, so obviously Brunson being there, he doesn't need to attack so much or use the ball so much because he still makes mistakes. But him being able to score, okay, he has the potential the ability to score now. We can see he's scoring, even if he's well, we were so worried about him. Now, what if we need him to score? Can he? Well, he still can, but obviously with Julius and Brunson being at a higher level, if this is him just okay taking a step back, okay, if we need him, I know he will be there if needed to fill that role, not to lead us, but to fill the role. So with IQ as well.
Yeah, well, what game was it, Rafa, where he had that tremendous first half? Was it the Charlotte game or was it the Kings game? I can't remember. There was a game recently where he had a tremendous first half. It fell off a little bit in the second half, but it's stuff like that you like to see from RJ. You like to see him attacking. You like to see him, being able to fight through the contact because we all know he's not getting any calls.
It's
And
amazing, man.
yeah, I guess
It's
real quick.
amazing.
I know I think we were supposed to talk about this, but I forgot about it until now. Um, it's like the ref stuff is kind of getting a lot of steam now, right? Like the bad officiating and all that. It all really kind of came to a head, I think, when Fred VanVleet from the Raptors had that tirade, and I was actually surprised he only got fined 30,000, guys. I thought he was going to get fined like 100K and maybe even get suspended for just going in on refs like that. So obviously, we know that it's not only Knicks fans who complain about the refs, and the Clipper game was it seemed like Julius was getting mauled every time he touched the ball, and they weren't calling it. So what do you guys make of where refereeing is right now? Is this going to be a problem in the playoffs for us, or do you think kind of they'll get the good refs in and hopefully it's not as egregious as it is right now?
I don't know. I think it's just I think it's always been like this. I don't see any kind of general deterioration in the standard. I mean, there's every single year, there's games where you just like the refs have had a nightmare, and it's I don't know what it is like. I mean, lately it has been really, really poor, and I noticed that the guy after the Knicks got the ref after the Van Fleet thing. We got him in the next game because they mentioned it on the broadcast. But yeah, I don't know. My frustrations with the refs are more about they bring in all these new rules at the start of the year and then they just after a couple of games it's all forgotten. I can't stand that, and it's just like the initiating contact one is. Has been completely forgotten about. You see it 3 or 4 times. I get, players that, especially from 3, where they jump forward into contact, and it just drives me absolutely insane. And it never gets, it gets called as a foul every time, pretty much. That's my frustration. Where it's just like, well, I thought we were supposed to sort this out. I mean, the take fouls seem to haven't completely gone, but that got a lot of press at the time near the start of the season. But that seems to have been, you still see the odd one call, but it's just not as big a deal anymore. I guess teams have kind of adapted to it a little bit, but Yeah, it's the initiating contact one that as I say, just drives me up the wall. So, but I don't think it's a general deterioration of the standards. I think it's just at the moment it's been heightened. You know, we might go through a big period where nobody's talking about it. So
it's not just a Fred VanVleet press conference, which I find funny. Fred VanVleet talks in the press conference, gets to pay money. But LeBron makes a Twitter post, nothing happens. Tyler Hero made the Twitter post, nothing happened. I mean, so it's not just Fred VanVleet. There's always LeBron, Tyler Hero. There's another one. I don't remember who it was. Also complained about the referees. It's like it's more in big plays, the finishing moments of the game, that the referees making mistakes influence the outcome of the game. Obviously, they make mistakes throughout the game. We've seen it. Oh, the ball touched that guy instead of the other. It's our ball. It's not their ball. And it's we know so well, if something can be a tie game, can be a quick 6-point swing or a 5-point swing, it changes the complexity of a game. And it's now different from 20 years ago. It's like now we get social media, and this goes so overboard with people nitpicking every little play. I mean, it's hard when you look at the game. The same foul getting called on one end and not getting fouled on the other. I think it was a Clippers game. Like RJ was getting mauled, Julius Randle was getting mauled all the entire game. There's no foul calling on the other side. Same type of defense, foul. Well, if we as fans get frustrated at the referees, like I get frustrated at the referees. I know Omar and Alex are a little bit more. You guys are a little bit more mellow about it. It's like I know they can have bad games, but it's still frustrating to because it is basketball related. Like, but it isn't. If it's a foul, call it. If you see it, you need more referees. You need more cameras filming everything. I mean, it's hard, and it's the big play, like the last second play that wasn't called. LeBron that was clearly fouled by Tatum, or was it Giannis? I don't remember who it was against anymore. But it was a foul.
Boston game, yeah.
I think it was with Tatum. Yeah, so Tatum clearly fouled. So they're down by one, going to the free throw line. He can win the game there, or at least go to overtime. It was I don't remember again which game was the RJ Barrett dunk to tie the game. That was a foul. Oh no, it didn't change the shot and everything with those reports.
Boston again, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, Boston bias. There you go, Boston bias. I don't even remember. I'm bringing plays.
I'm pretty sure it was one of the earlier Boston games in the year, if I'm not mistaken.
Now you mentioned, I think it was that. Yeah, but I mean, they have. I mean, we have the VAR, but we talked about the referees. We talked about the VAR, the option to go back and reverse calls that that's a very bad call. I mean, if they go back, change a 2-pointer to a 3-pointer or a 3-pointer to a 2-pointer, why not go back and revert the call that cost that team the game? I mean, it's so ridiculous. Oh, we're going to look at this play from the first minute of the fourth period. The first period, sorry, because it was a 2 and not a 3. That we'll look into. Oh, the guy stepped out of bounds and we didn't look. Oopsies. I mean, get your shit together, and fans and players stop complaining. I mean, they never will, but it's hard, man.
Rafa, the counter to that is, and this is again something that fans will get up and complain about, is the fact that you're stopping the game every 2 seconds. Do you know? And there's no flow to the game. There's no, you're just like, oh, come on, get on with it. But then, there's a fine balance between those two things, I think.
You can if you want to, you can those final 2 minutes. They have that rule with those final 2 minutes. They can review plays. Review plays. I mean, it
But
doesn't take.
have a time limit. I think time limit thing has to be brought in. Say they've got
Yeah, I
30
mean, it's
seconds or something to make a call. They don't have to look at it
it,
from 100 different angles.
yeah. If it's that complicated, if it, like
Mhm.
here with VAR, what happens is that you have referees that look into that while the game is still playing. Well, oh, I look at the replay. Oh, this is something. I think this is wrong. Call the okay. This is wrong. You revert the call. I mean, if you take 5 minutes to look at the play, if you take 5 minutes to decide, okay, just let it go. If it's decided like that, it's if you're having trouble decide if it was a millimeter to touch the other player or not, if it's that hard to decide on camera, just stay with the what you picked. If it's clear cut, just okay, revert it. It's back. That's okay. They need a better system for the
My
reviews as well.
my issue with the refereeing, like I've you guys know my feelings. Like I'm never gonna blame a loss on the ref. Like just execute at certain points in the game, and you wouldn't have to. Don't let it get into the ref's hands. That's my takeaway, right? But there
Absolutely.
needs to be some consistency in the way that they're calling fouls. Like let's use the Clippers game as an example. The way that every time RJ and Julius, and even on the other side, some of the Clippers would go into the paint and they would let some stuff go. I'm not going to say it was biased or anything like that. They don't call NBA games in 2023 like that anymore. Like a regular season, especially. Like that looked like early 2000 stuff, and if you're gonna let more things go, that's fine, but make it across the board, because just looking at the mind state of somebody like RJ or Julius, they're used to going into the lane, drawing the contact, and hoping to get a foul, and usually getting it. When you every time you go, you're getting decked, and they're not calling anything. Like that's gonna frustrate them, which is why you see the outburst that Julius had later on. And so it's that lack of consistency that's the problem. And again, I don't think refs cost teams games, but if you have for 10 games in a row, you're officiated like this is a foul, but then all of a sudden it's not a foul, that doesn't make sense to me. You have to officiate the game to your point, Rafa. If you whatever the rules are, follow the rules. But
Yeah.
even though some things are subjective, it shouldn't be that subjective. I guess is my feeling, and I don't know if it comes down to training the refs better or in terms of what to look for. I'm not sure what the solution is, to be quite honest. The same way I don't know the solution for flopping, and I don't know the solution for the kick out, and I don't know the solution for jumping into a defender. Like a lot of this stuff it's hard. We're just commenting on it, right? It's hard
Oh, yeah.
to propose a proper solution and to implement that solution.
We talked about this, I think, last year that it was the argument about is a foul the same on LeBron as it is to Ja Morant or somebody like that. If you were going to call the same fouls that you were calling on Morant that you would do LeBron would get fouled 150 times a game. It's hard, like when and that was the argument for what was happening to Randle was that, there's a guy that's so big and strong that, you can't call every single touch, on him, every bit of contact on him, because it's not affecting his shot. I mean, that came up with us against
Yeah.
who was that RJ one? Where it didn't the call with the refs was something like, it didn't affect his shot or something like that, so it wasn't
I
called a
mean,
foul. It's
it was
it's
ridiculous.
so fine details. But as you said, it's a consistency thing. I'd never even heard that before. The way they described that non call on RJ. It's just like
They're making it up,
it
Alex.
feels like you're
They're
just
making it up.
inventing
Okay.
something to get away with it. So
Do you remember? I think it was against the Hornets. Do you remember that play where RJ almost stormed into the referee to the? I don't know if it was the Hornets game.
yeah,
I think it was.
yeah.
He got called for a foul and almost stormed the referee. I mean, the previous play, he was asking for a foul on. He was driving. He drove into the paint, and the guy defended same way RJ did or similar. RJ went to argue with the referee, talk with the referee, and the referee said he just put hands in the air and stood there. That's not a foul. So that's exactly what RJ did the next play defending, and he was called for the foul. I mean, if you tell a player do this and you're not getting called for the foul, but if he does it, you're getting called. I mean, I know it's not the same referee because it's referee on the other end of the floor, but if it's because of it, it's another referee.
I mean, that's part of the problem too, Rafa. Like this
that is, yeah.
Not even talking game to game. These people on the same team, on the same refereeing team, can't figure out what is and what isn't. That inherently is a problem. You know, it's an inconsistency in the way the game is called, which is not good.
I don't even know. Are they always the same team of referees, or they switch? I don't even know.
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure. Alex, do you know about that?
Don't know.
I would imagine they would do it for chemistry purposes, but you know, who knows? I'm sure different assignments happen. We'd have to look into that.
That would make sense if it's the same group of referees. I mean,
yeah,
they know each other. They know what.
How do you feel about the thought? Like we get this in football, soccer a lot that if you try to make the game too kind of sanitized, too perfect, then you take away, you know, the kind of debates down the bars after the game, you know, social media. It loses some of its kind of magic because there's no like you know, there's no controversy anymore. So it kind of takes away some of that side of things. I've never really kind of come to terms with how I feel about that. I guess until you saw it form of, you know, everything's reviewed, everything's perfect. You know, there's no controversy.
I'll put it this way, Alex. Sports is entertainment, right? We all know that. And in entertainment, controversy sells, you know, to use an overused phrase. So yeah, I think that's part of it. You know, like the Twitter debates, like you two are mentioning, the bar room kind of back and forth, like, oh, this is a foul. You couldn't see it. Oh, what do you mean it's not a foul? You know, that's in the lifeblood of sport, and not just basketball and every other sport as well. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's part of the entertainment value of it, why we watch, because we watch for not only the drama of wins and losses, but also the moments that cause like an emotional outburst out of us, like how can you not call that, or how can you call that kind of thing, right? But that's a really good point, I think, and maybe that's why they're not really addressing it as much as we and people on Twitter and stuff like that think that we should be.
But as well, you've got to take into account the kind of the Homer side of things as well.
Oh yeah, of course we're going to treat it a certain way. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you guys just like, I really do try to see it objectively sometimes, but it's so hard. You know, you have such a rooting interest, you know, and like I know, like I'll watch a League Pass game, like I'll watch like Minnesota versus Utah or something like that. Yeah, then it becomes a lot more objective. I don't care who wins that game, you know. But with any Knicks game, obviously we're going to see it a certain way through, you know, orange colored glasses, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I kind of want to move on to comments from a former Knick, which before I get into it, I really can't stand who's Bondi right for. Is it the Daily News? It's just like, you're dropping this little article now, you know, when, you know, after a really tough loss against the Clippers, and where, you know, maybe somebody's questioning the coach or questioning the star player or whatever. So Cam Reddish, who is now a Portland Trailblazer, getting meaningful minutes with the Blazers, and who we are visiting on Tuesday. And he made some comments to the Daily News, and basically said that there was some favoritism in New York, and that he would shoot a shot afraid that if he would miss, that he would be benched and things of that nature. So the irony here is also Josh Hart kind of said the opposite. Said that as soon as he's come into New York, he's had the green light, you know, more so than he had in Portland. You know, no disrespect to Portland, blah blah blah, but he kind of said the opposite of what Cam was saying. So do you guys think that anything that Cam is saying or has said to the Daily News has any merit on what's going on inside the Knicks locker room.
I mean, it comes down to, are you doing what the coach wants you to do? Do you know what I mean? It's like Josh Hart, we know, is Tibbs' kind of wet dream, do you know? And
yeah, exactly.
And it's the problem with Obi as well. It's not just Cam, Obi as well. Whereas you can see Tibbs just tearing his hair out watching him. He's just not. He's not in the style of kind of what Tibbs wants as a player and wants in the roster. And I think that's all it came down to. It was just like, this just isn't working. Just get the guy off somewhere else. And as for the comments, I mean, the guy was asked the question. He was just honest about it. Do you know what I mean? That's how he feels. He's got his own perception of what he is as a player and how, where he should be, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? Some call it arrogance, some call it just confidence in his own ability. Do you know? I didn't think he said anything that bad, do you know, and anything that unsurprising. I mean, if you were benched for that long length of time with no minutes, do you know, you probably have a bit of resentment against anyone and everyone on the Knicks. So I really didn't see it that bad. You know, I think if he called out specific people and started saying some pretty crazy stuff about what was going on in the locker room, then yeah, I think it'd be more of a problem. But he didn't really. Do you know? I didn't see anything too controversial in there. And as for what Hart said, you know, I mean, he's well up to that point. I think anyway. You know, he hadn't lost a game. You know, obviously everything's going perfectly. So what's he going to say? Do you know, like is he going to be complaining about minutes or his role in the team when everything's going so well? So yeah, the trick is to ask him when you're on an 8-game losing streak rather than an 8-game winning streak. So but yeah, I didn't see it that bad. But as for meaningful minutes, you know, they've, you know, I don't want to go down the route of comparing them. I can't. I've said before, I hate this Cam thing, you know, where we're almost like following him as a Nick at the moment, you know, and every single, you know, missed rebound or missed shot, it's jumped all over. See, he's no good. You know, he's no good. It's just like, just let the guy play, man. He's found somewhere. He's getting good minutes. He seems to be doing pretty well, but you know, just let the guy go. You know, if he was some kind of superstar player in the league or even on the Knicks, then you could understand it a little bit better. But you know, he was a role player at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just let him go.
Just before I get into this camp thing, I was listening, but I was searching that referee thing, if they work in groups or not. They don't. So what's happening now? Yeah, what's happening now? They travel to a city or a location and stay there for a period. So that's why teams get to see refs more often. So, like for example, the game from last night. We had Bill Kennedy, Tom Washington, and Brandon Adair. And tonight we'll have Bill Kennedy and Tom Washington still. So two referees we hated from last night, they'll still here tonight. So, yeah, I love it. So yeah, they don't work in groups. Maybe they should. Maybe that's a thing. This entire thing, the comments and everything. Bondi wishes he was Mark Berman.
Ooh.
Isn't trying. He wishes he was Mark Berman.
Look at that, coming in hot.
Wow.
I mean, he wishes.
Is that from that's a very low bar, or is that I'm a big fan of Mark Berman?
Mark Berman's great in retirement, you know. Now that he's gone,
yeah, he's positive. He's positive. Mark Berman is positive. Look at that.
It goes to show you it was all basically a bit, you know. So
I mean, yeah. It was his job basically, and it's Bondi's job, I think. But Berman, the Birdman, actually, team is winning. I don't care. I will put this in still right now. I'm now waiting until the team loses to post something on that. I mean, I don't see a problem at all. We discussed this in the group chat. I mean, every person has a favorite player or a certain type of favorite player, and coaches will have the players that they like more to play a certain style to fit their tactics. It's no surprise there. I mean, Cam didn't work out with the Knicks. Oh, politics. I mean, if he says, "Oh, why weren't you playing with the Knicks?" I was shit. I was really bad. He's not gonna say that. Oh,
Yeah,
so
we'll
he's
player
blaming it on
different.
politics. I mean, oh, it's politics. He preferred someone else. Nothing basketball related. Nothing basketball related. Absolutely not. I mean, the team
Which
was under 500 when you were playing.
the
You
irony,
left.
the irony is it's a coach's preference, which is usually basketball related. You know, like he's gonna pick another player probably because he likes his defense more than your defensive effort. You know, that's just the way it goes. Like coaching is all preference. Like you're going to implement your scheme because that's your preferred scheme. You're going to start this player because that's your preferred player to play in that scheme, and you're going to give people rotation minutes based on your preference. So when people are out here like, yeah, you know, see how wrong Cam was treated. He was playing favorites. Find me a coach that doesn't play favorites. Like they're going to put in the guys that they think are going to win for them or accomplish whatever it is they're looking to accomplish, right?
Exactly.
Thibodeau is all about, hey, I want to defend hard and I want to, you know, give myself the best chance to win games. You saw Cam Reddish. Alex has said it a million times. Probably a guy who didn't give a lot of effort in practice. And he's like, well, if he's not giving effort in practice, he's not going to give effort in the game. Think about the guys who get minutes, big minutes with Thibodeau. It's all guys who are like workaholics in practice in the gym. IQ gets a lot of minutes. Obi doesn't. Maybe that tells you something, right? Josh Hart gets a ton of minutes. Randle gets a lot of minutes. Barrett gets a lot of minutes. You know, probably because those guys are putting in the work. You know, it's like, you know, it's not rocket science. Like we know what the guy likes, and if you're not offering what the guy likes, he's not going to play you. You know, it's probably why he's not playing Evan Fournier right now because it doesn't fit into his scheme, right? So, like people who that's Alex, you made a really good point about this. Is like, are these people Knicks fans or Cam Reddish fans now? Like, you have so many of these people saying, "Oh, Cam was done wrong because he was my player, my favorite player." It goes back to a lot of these fans that want their agenda to win over wanting the team to win. Like the teams are doing good without him, you know. Like you mentioned, Rafa, they were under 500 with him. He leaves, they're 8-9 games above 500, and we're mad about that because this guy whose skill set you happen to like when we acquired him from Atlanta didn't work out, and now he's traded to Portland and doing okay. Like, you know, just get over it. You know, like
And
let's
his replacement, or sort of replacement, the guy we acquired for him, is playing really, really well, and everybody loves him. And yes,
right.
he's a Tibbs guy. He's a Tibbs, yes, the type of player Tom Thibodeau like. If you don't like Josh Hart playing basketball, I mean, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah, it's not the game for you, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
it comes back to what especially you, Alex, said many, many times about the player didn't fit the role the team needed. And Josh Hart is exactly what the team needed.
Mhm.
He clearly looks like a guy who doesn't mind coming off the bench. So even if he was starting with in Portland, he's coming off the bench. He's playing a lot of minutes. He's playing more than 30 minutes per game. So he's getting his share first. He runs with the first unit, runs with the second unit. He just plays when he's asked to.
Ultimate
And
glue
I mean,
guy. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just a thing. This oh, Tom Thibodeau was stubborn. Look at him. As he didn't play Cam
Look
when he
at
could
him.
have played Cam because last year we were very bad. And he played Burks instead of quickly at the point. And he didn't do this. And he didn't play Obi Toppin more. Instead he played the guy who's in seventh for MVP race. How dare him not do that? How dare him? How dare Tom Thibodeau? I'm here defending Tom Thibodeau for the second week in a row. I'm gonna have a stroke.
I don't know what happened to
It's
you, man. Like, what's going on
it's
here?
not even
Plus, you're
Change,
it's
defending
not
him
Rafa.
even
while we're on a losing
Change.
streak. That's the
I
crazy
mean
thing.
Too
it's
much
not even
wine.
yeah, well,
Too much wine.
there you
That's why
go.
he went to water. He's liking Tibbs too much now. He's drinking all that wine,
Yeah,
and you know it's
I
not
need to
sitting right.
sober up. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this is not even defending Tom Thibodeau. It's just like
Yeah.
it's they're fighting agendas. We obviously, if I would love the Knicks to be even better with RJ Barrett leading him? Of course. Yeah, but I don't. The team is winning right now. RJ Barrett's not playing well. Well, do better, RJ. I want my team to win regardless.
Yeah.
I would cry if he was traded, probably, but I would still be watching the Knicks play. I mean, players come and go. I mean, it's agendas. No, well, no, no, thank you.
Speaking of agendas, let's talk a little
About
bit
Julius Randle.
about Julius Randle. Yeah. So, like you mentioned, Rafa, he was Eastern Conference Player of the Week recently, was as high as 7th in the MVP ladder, and has 3 bad games now, and the fan base has begun to show its true colors again, right? They all had a visiting visa onto Randall Island, and now they've gone back home, to their hater pods and their hater Twitter accounts, right?
Did they though? No, they just went silent. I don't even know if they went to Randall Island even on holiday. I think they a lot of people.
Maybe they thought about taking the trip.
just
They're
vanished
thinking
for-
about it. Yeah,
They vanished for a couple of weeks, and
Yeah.
Oh, it's
So
it's so weird behavior, man. It's such a weird behavior. You go onto Twitter when the Knicks are playing well, and RJ is playing well, and Randall is playing well, and Brunson is playing well. Well, when Brunson is playing well, scoring 30 points, he's getting shit on because he's a ball hog who doesn't pass the ball, which is a different story. But when Randall's playing well and RJ's playing well, Twitter is silent. The minute Julius Randle is shooting 14 from 15, but he committed 2 back-to-back turnovers. What a bum. What a bum. Twitter just floods. It's weird behavior. Just
so
incredibly weird.
The best one I heard this week was about how Randall wasn't a clutch player. I think it was within the week of Randall hitting that shot against Miami.
Yeah, it hits a game winner, but he's not clutch.
He's not clutch now.
So a lot of bad habits showing up in these last few games. A lot of the stuff we saw last year from Randall, like a lot of frustration, bad shot selection,
Body
and things
language.
of that nature. So obviously this has been happening without Brunson. So is this really more of a look what is happening to Julius thing, or is this really just illustrating how helpful Brunson has been for him this year?
There's definitely some, in the Brunson thing, you can see how those two have clicked, and that. I mean, we've been banging on about this forever. About how taking the ball out of Randall's hands is a positive, not a negative. It's like you don't want him bringing the ball up. As good a passer as he is, you want him catching the. You catching the ball in the post and spreading out passes. You don't want him kind of driving and bringing up the play. He's in the wrong position in that case. Where he can be effective. It's just like having somebody that's just calming everything down, directing things, getting Randall in the position where he can get good shots off. Keeping even these energy levels up, and the fact that he's not having to do absolutely everything. You can concentrate more on the defensive end. It's just there's so many kind of dominoes that fall as soon as he's got somebody that he can rely on. I think we all hoped that Kemba would be that person, but that didn't. They obviously didn't click. So, but the Brunson, him and Brunson are a fantastic pairing, and it's a worry that that it's gone so much the other way. I'm hoping that that's just, I say, down a lot to fatigue. So, and it's not just purely, Randall going back to just thinking he has to do everything again, which is just putting the pressure on him, putting the pressure on his shot to go in. Everything just the kind of pressure mounts on him, and I think that's a lot to do with how he can get so easily wound up by other players. And he loses his cool. It's just because everything's back on him again, and the pressure just builds and builds. So, and it doesn't obviously help when IQ comes in and he doesn't have the best of games. You can see against Boston it obviously works, but that's because Quickly's having a kind of superhuman game. So yeah, it is a worry, and I hope he at least his injury doesn't seem to be that bad, Brunson. So he should be back soon, I think.
Even again in a game against Boston, I think I tweeted out that Randle seemed a little off. I mean, he's entitled to having off nights. Everybody's entitled to having an off night, but he seemed a little off. But he found his groove. He ended up getting shots, especially because Quickly and RJ were doing their things as well. So Randle found the space. I think it's him right now. Randle being more frustrated if not having the same space he used to have with Flint while playing with Brunson. And the game against the Hornets, which was the Quickly, what a drop for Quickly, for example. RJ was having a pretty good first half, playing with that double with Mitch, and no one else was able to help in the same sense offensively, and Randle got frustrated. I think it's because he puts the pressure on himself. If he's named Player of the Week, if he's the All-Star of the team, if people call him the General, not only one but two or three people agree that he's the General. I think he puts that on himself to be better and to help the team win, especially without Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems like he's kind of getting on him in his head again. Like the pressure right there, he doesn't need to. I mean, Julius, if you're listening, I know you are. You don't need to. You don't need to. I mean, just let it come to you. I think he's forcing too much. But those shots he seemed to be was forcing in the last couple of weeks, they were going in.
Mm.
But when they don't go in, you start thinking too much and you start complaining too much. And the calls aren't going your way. You start complaining more. Like I was saying before about the referees, when we're here, I'm complaining about the referees on Twitter. Why are you not calling this? Why is this a no call? How blind are you? If you're a player, you'll get upset after a couple of plays as well. You're the one getting hacked. You're the one getting the hand to the face or hand to the arm, like getting the bruises. So you will get upset at the referees. So players showing emotion or complaining to a referee, I mean, it's also part of the game. Tom Thibodeau was complaining to the referees 24/7. I don't know how he doesn't get attacked per game.
Master at it.
That rant he had, I posted for you guys to see it. He said it was a foul like 30 times. I know it was a foul. You know it was a foul. Everybody knows it was a fucking foul. Tibbs just went on him. And many times that players are complaining, he's complaining as well.
Yeah.
So it's normal to complain. It's normal to get frustrated. I mean, but he doesn't need to get frustrated like this. I mean, he doesn't seem to be mad at their other players because he's a bad teammate. He's mad. I feel like he's mad at himself. And well, he just needs to figure that out.
Yeah, and that's Julius, right? He runs hot.
Yeah.
Like we know this from last year. That's why he's done all this meditation stuff before the games, trying to get himself right. And yeah, to your point, Rafa, he's put a lot of pressure on himself without Brunson there because, like you said, he's the two-time All-Star. He's the one who they're talking about for MVP votes. He's the one who they're talking about for All-NBA. So now your running mate isn't there. What are you gonna do now, right? So he was probably pressing a little bit. That's what happens and that's probably why he ends up going 5 of 19 or 5 of 24 or whatever the hell it was the other night. And it's just funny, like people criticizing him for like throwing an elbow or whatever. Yes, it was a stupid play. We all know that. But there's the same fan base that loved it when Charles Oakley and Anthony Mason and John Starks did that shit. Like and these are the same fans that love that. They're like, yeah, we're New York, East Coast, bully ball, all that. So then he does some bully ball shit, and all of a sudden you're mad. It's just like
just shows how much he cares. That's it's passion boiling over.
I would argue, of the last 20 years, nobody has cared more about winning games as a Knick than Julius Randle as a player. You know, like he is really like he cares a lot. That's why he gets fired up and why he like literally was about to fight the entire bench the other day. So, you know, it's you don't want to see that. You don't want to see him struggling as much, but you know, he's going to work himself through. And again, it's not like he's the only one who's missing shots. You know, everybody's missing shots right now. You know, the team's in a fucking slump, and you know, hopefully they could get out of it. Obviously, I don't think Brunson's going to be back until the end of the road trip, and you know, they obviously miss him. You know, he's their best player. He's the one that makes the engine go, and without Brunson, you know, they're a flawed team. Like I love Quickly, but he's not Brunson, you know? And he's had moments, but he also shows himself as a young 23-year-old guard, you know, where he's gonna go 1 for 10 some nights. Like you kind of take the good with the bad with it, you know, and he's not the consistency model that Brunson is. And it just goes to show you just how important Brunson has been to this team this year because, you know, he's the steadying force when things are kind of falling apart. He's the one that kind of brings it all back in, gets you a bucket here, gets you a bucket there, draws a foul, whatever the case may be, and then you kind of get back into it because right now this is kind of like this chaos engine, right? You know, where it's just like everybody's missing shots, everybody's getting mad, everybody's doing this, and you don't have that calming force to say, okay, give me the ball, let me handle this right now that you get with Brunson. So I think some of it's, of course, on Julius, but a big chunk of it, I think, is the fact that you don't have Brunson there right now. And you know, to be honest, like we know Julius isn't gonna be, he's not LeBron James, you know, and he's gonna be, he's the guy who needs his second guy to be there with him, you know, and that's when he does well, when they, to your point, Alex, where he's not having to initiate and not having to create, you know, he can create, but not as the create all the time guy. You know, that's why you signed Brunson, right? And as much as we like IQ, he's not that level of initiator and creator yet.
I think over the next couple of games, if Brunson does sit out, I think it's important that we do build up an impression of, you know, this is how we play. This is how we deal with it when he does sit. You know, and especially going into things like fingers crossed into the playoffs that you know we can cope without him and cope by as I mean, well, right, here's what we do. This is how we play. This is who's playing, and we have a good idea of what we do if he does go out. So I think that's important over the next few games, whether we win or lose. I think we need to make sure that we're not just like, oh shit, when's Brunson back? Do you know, it's like, well, right, let's get on it, you know. And we saw that in the Boston game. So yeah, we just need to see that a bit more consistently as to, you know, we're not just panicking as soon as Brunson sits.
Brunson has missed a couple of games this season, and we haven't looked bad. We played. It was the game against the Heat. He missed as well, and we won. We beat the Heat, so we're beating good teams without him, and mounting comebacks while shooting 20% from deep against Sacramento, the number 2 seed in the West. And the bad shooting continues, and we still hang around against the Clippers with 38 points from Kawhi Leonard. I mean, there weren't blowouts.
Right.
It was a team fighting back like the Knicks. We fought back. We were down like 20 points. We fought back, tied with the Kings. And then we had a couple of turnovers there. Again, inbounding the ball is a problem for us. It's so totally hilarious.
The trademark of the Tom Thibodeau era.
It's but yeah, it's not bad losses. I mean,
yeah.
Again, like I mentioned at the top of the show, it's a roller coaster ride with the Knicks playing basketball right now. It is great moments of basketball, absolutely atrocious. What are we doing? I mean, but it's again, Brunson it speaks volumes of Brunson's presence on the team, and yeah, it also speaks, I mean, volumes of a young team because right now, guys playing the most minutes and having the ball the most of the times is IQ and RJ. IQ had a tremendous game against Boston, and then against I don't know who it was, shot 9% from the field. 9%. I mean, what? A guy who was almost scored 40 on Boston in double overtime. So it's a roller coaster. And well, last game he was the only good guy out there scoring the ball. RJ and Randle were having trouble. So I mean, the growing pains a bit as well.
Young
That's
team,
what this
right?
team would. What?
It's
Sorry.
a young team, still a young
Yeah,
team.
exactly.
Hard to get away from
Just
the fact that all of our guys are under 30.
just to make a quick comparison against Portland, who obviously we're going to be playing shortly. So Portland, Lillard's out tonight, and there's a team that can't cope without their star. They're down 35 going into the fourth quarter.
Cam's not working.
So, I mean
Damn it.
yeah, that's a young team as well. But there's guys like Jeremy Grant in there. Good, real solid kind of players in there. So yeah, you take out the kind of head of the snake, and sometimes
It's the NBA, man. You're not going to win games when your best player is missing. That's just how it works.
But at least what my point was, at least we're competitive. So
yeah, exactly.
So as Rafa said earlier, that Clippers game especially, didn't we were certainly competitive in that.
All right, so let's wrap this episode up by talking a little bit about the MVP race. So there's been a lot of talk about how you should quantify things with the MVP. Obviously Jokic from Denver is kind of in the lead right now in the clubhouse with MVP voters, and and he's on track potentially to win his third straight MVP, which has not been done in a very long time, I don't think. A lot of people are saying, well, he really shouldn't get it because everybody that elevates Jokic is really just because of advanced stats and things of that nature, versus kind of like the eye test of somebody like Embiid or Giannis or even Luka. So I guess for you guys, when you're thinking about MVP, what are you looking for this award? What's up, Rafa?
Just before you go, I was just checking the Portland game with the Pelicans. There's a reason why the Pelicans are up big. Trey Murphy III is shooting 69% from three.
Okay.
9 out of 12. The guy,
good player,
39 points. A guy who averages 13. Holy shit, 9 from 13. He shot more threes than the Knicks last couple of games.
Hey man, get him on here.
Yeah, if only they had a good sized defensive wing, Portland to guard him. I think that would never happen. Sorry, if they had Josh Hart, maybe.
Oh my
god. Yeah. Forget the question. What are we talking about?
MVP. What do you look for?
MVP.
When you're looking at MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the moment anyway, he's well in front of the rest. Jokic, more to do with. I mean, for me personally, I always look at players that I look at it as a kind of most valuable player in the literal sense, and that does he have a lot of help? Like Embiid, I know I picked him at the start of the year, but he's still got Harden. He's still got a lot of good pieces around him. So, is he doing quite the same as Jokic, and that he's bringing a lot of other players together? Yeah, the Nuggets have got a lot of good players, but do they have for instance, a second star? I don't know if you'd really consider any of the other ones a kind of real second star. So Giannis
disrespect to Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, exactly. The on the Bucks as well, Giannis, I always think as well, as much as I love Drew Holiday, as much as Middleton's a really good player, he's by far in a way the kind of the focal point, the center of that team. That's the kind of guys I look at as everything revolves around them. They're the most important thing to that team. And so I think, just as many games as Embiid's missing, and I don't really consider him in the same level as Jokic right now. I think Jokic is just doing amazing things. The Nuggets are, I know they've dropped the last couple of games, but they're doing amazing things as well, just as a team. So, forget about kind of, you can't give him it 3 times in a row. Just give it to the guy that's most worthy of it, and let's go with that. So I would say he's kind of well in the lead at the moment.
It's funny. I like the we talk about a lot about moving goalposts, and this happens a lot with any award, but the MVP, it happens a lot. A year the place the team is in matters, the other it doesn't. Then it's what the stats. Every stat counts, and now then every stat it doesn't count because it's a winning percentage. I mean, it's always moving goalposts just to pull the race into your favorite candidate, basically. And I was looking at the numbers and everything. I mean, Embiid scores more points than Jokic. They're the top two, so I'm bringing them. So even with Giannis, Embiid, Jokic scores less points than Giannis. But does he do more for the team? Well, defensively and offensively, other than score, he pass the ball? He does. I mean, you need to find the what is the MVP? I mean, just have the same analysis every year. Don't change the analysis, because if it's like Alex was saying, if he's the best player 3 years in a row, give him the MVP 3 years in a row. He deserves it. It's like years ago, when I think we talked about this as well in history. Russell Westbrook got an MVP because he was averaging a triple-double. He averaged a triple-double the second year, but he wasn't MVP because we've seen it enough. I mean, if he was because of that the MVP, why isn't he considered the best player if he's still doing the same thing, averaging a triple-double? That's what Jokic is averaging. I mean, it's if the team wins more games, yeah, winning is important, but the stats are important as well. I mean, they need to just determine what the MVP is, or what the MVP guy should receive. And I mean, because you're the MVP, but then you lose in the playoffs, the first round, and nobody talks about you anymore. Oh, look at them. He lost in the first round. He's no good. That's the playoffs. It's a different thing. That's why there's the MVP playoffs. The playoffs of the MVP of the playoffs. Sorry. It's just figure out what you want the rules to be to pick the MVP. To me, Jokic is the best player. He does a lot more than any other guy out there. I mean, if it's impressive for a guard to average 10 rebounds, it's also impressive for a center to average 10 assists while rebounding the ball, while scoring. So it's if Embiid averages 6 more points than Jokic or whatever it is, well, Jokic averages 8 more assists or 7, so that's 7 more baskets, can be a lot more points. So he averages more totally. He averages more points than you. I mean, it's a weird thing that it keeps changing every year regarding the player.
The issue with the MVP is that it's a completely narrative based award, right? Like much like all the other awards are, but with MVP, the problem is right now it's precedent, because 3 times in a row has only happened 3 times. Bill Russell in the early 60s, Wilt Chamberlain in the mid 60s, and Larry Bird in the mid 80s. So you're putting him in the category with those guys, and that's a lot. And you could argue last year maybe because they finished 6th in the West, it wasn't really deserving. But this year, what's the argument? He has the stats, he has the advanced metrics that some people look for, and his team is first in the West. So it's hard to say he's not deserving, but you really have to wonder what is if they're really going to say, well, we don't want to give this to this guy 3 times in a row. I mean, LeBron never got it 3 times in a row. Jordan never got it 3 times in a row. Kobe never got it 3 times in a row. So that's where you're elevating it, right? And I think people that are detractors of Jokic are kind of looking at it as an anti-analytics argument, right? Because they're just like, oh, all he leads is in VORP and Raptor and all these crazy advanced stats, and but the eye test tells me that Embiid is always the best player on the court any given night, and or Giannis is just so physically dominant, I want to give it to him. And it's really going to be interesting, I think, the way this folds out. And I agree with you, Rafa. They need to define what this is. It's not the best player on the best team, because Westbrook won it as a 5 seed and Jokic won it as a 6 seed. And, we've given it to guys who are statistically excellent, even if they're not even hosting a first round playoff series. Are we giving it? So it's not just stats, but it's also not just winning. And what's the formula? It's really just kind of like, oh, who do I think was the best player this year? But there really is no category, which again, it goes back to Alex's point earlier about the beauty of the sports debate, and that's kind of what it's all about. I want to advocate for Giannis, and maybe Alex want to advocate for Jokic, and you want to advocate for Embiid, and that's the beauty of it, because they're all deserving, I feel, right? Like all 3 of them are excellent. Yeah. And so I'm just curious to see. I think if he doesn't get it, honestly, it will only be because they don't want to give it to somebody 3 times in a row again. And I don't know if that's right, but I think that's what it is.
I mean, if he's the best player, just give it to him. If he is the best player, there's no need to beat around the bush. If he's the best, give him.
To use a football analogy, right? It's like, doesn't matter how many times Messi won the Ballon d'Or, they still gave it to him a bunch of times, right? Because he was the best player, and you give it to the best player. That's it. It doesn't matter what precedent you're setting. And it's not like it's the first time as a three-peat, it hasn't happened in 40 years, but, it's just, it's if he's the best, he's the best, we've never seen anybody like him.
I mean, even if you're looking at, LeBron James is the best player in the world right now. Wasn't he the best player in the world many more seasons? I mean,
LeBron probably should have won MVP 5 years in a row, if we're being honest. Like,
exactly.
There's fatigue. Fatigue is a thing. Like, we know that, like there was LeBron fatigue. There's probably some Jordan fatigue in the early 90s, and now's the test. Is there Jokic fatigue?
I mean, if fatigue, he's too good. Let's not give him the award. He's too good.
Yeah, how ridiculous does that sound, right?
Yeah.
Let's put a pin in that, and let's look up at the week that's ahead. So we went to talking about excellence to potentially talking about mediocrity. The Knicks are about to tip off shortly against the Lakers in LA, and then in a couple days against Portland, and then thankfully a nice 4-day break until Saturday, a much needed break for this team, when they host the Nuggets, who we were just talking about, Jokic, right? So what do we think, guys? What's the record going to be this week?
As much as everybody goes on about the Lakers without LeBron, the Lakers without LeBron are actually played pretty well.
Like 9-3.
Yeah, and best defense in the NBA, I think, at the moment.
In that time frame, yeah.
Yeah. So just because of where we are right now, I think we might drop that one. I think hopefully, I mean, I said this about the Hornets, but hopefully we can pick up that one in Portland. I don't know if Lillard's going to be back for that. They said it was a calf strain. Calf strains don't tend to sort themselves out very quickly. So as much as I love watching Dame play, I would like him to be out for that one. So we can pick up that one, and then I don't really see much hope for us in Denver, even though sorry, not in Denver. Is that MSG?
That's MSG game, yeah.
Yeah. So even though we picked up the game in Denver amazingly. I think we'll lose that one. So I'm going 1-2.
It's not looking pretty. I wanted to say 2-1, but I would be feeling like a delusional fan right now. But yeah, 1-2. I agree. We can pick up the game. Being crazy next, we can pick up this win tonight and lose against Portland, or we'll beat Portland. I don't see us. Well, if it's a 4-day break, I don't know if against the Nuggets Brunson will be back or not. So we have a
Yeah,
different.
the word is either against the Nuggets or the following game after that. I can't remember who we're playing after that, but one of those two games is the thought.
Well, the Nuggets, it's nearly the end of the road trip they're having right now. They will have it's. Oh no, they will play against the Wizards and the Nets after that. So I mean, it's so weird because they're playing in their East Coast trip, but yeah, but no, it's 1-2. Probably the Blazers will beat even with Lillard. I mean, it's unless it's the Cam Reddish revenge game, which is
Here's what's going to
I will
happen,
like
bro.
Twitter for that, man.
Imagine
Twitter will
this,
be
okay? Just imagine. We win the game, okay? But Cam drops 40. That should be the interesting discourse on Twitter. It's like, yeah, we beat him, but look at him. This man is hooping, you know?
Oh no, Omar,
Josh Hart,
losing the
5
game
points.
and Cam dropping 40 is
That's when
is
it gets
gonna be-
toxic. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
that's
gonna
bad.
be
Fire Tibbs.
Right. But I'm gonna mirror what you guys said. I'm gonna say 1-2. Real tough to expect this team after the way they looked against the Clippers to come on a back-to-back and be able to pull out the win against a hot Lakers team. Blazers, if they're without Lillard, I really like our chances. Even if with Lillard, I still like our chances against that team, and even without Jalen. And Denver's Denver. I mean, we never have an answer for Jokic, and that's gonna be a tough one, even at home. And even if Jalen is back, that's going to be a tough game. And so I think we would drop that one. So I'm going to make it a clean sweep of 1-2. So we'll see how it goes, right?
Yeah, we were so sure that the game we would lose would be against the Boston Celtics last week. So it
yeah,
didn't
well, it goes to
happen.
show you we don't know what we're talking about. So 3-0 is what's going to happen because we said 1-2.
Yeah.
But
Julius Randle will average 40.
It'd be fine. He'll be back to his normal self, and all will be well. The vibes will be great next week, and we'll be in good shape. But that is going to wrap us up for another episode of the Worldwide Knicks podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at WW Knicks Podcast, where we live tweet during the games and just talk other Knicks nonsense on Twitter. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop every week. So for Omar, Alex, and Rafa, Worldwide Knicks, catch you guys later.